Oi, Brian! Yeah, no, wait, listen, mate, we have an emergency. How many champions do you think we need to buff in order to bury the fact that we paywalled another 7-star defender? No, yeah, Solvark. Yeah, I know. No, I'm at the community. Yeah, I think just about 9 will do. 9 buffs, 2 mental breakdowns I had while trying to record this video, 1 video. I am going to rapid fire reviews for every single one of the new buffs, tune-ups, rebalances, whatever you want to call them, that have come out in the August update. I could make 9 separate videos talking about every single one of these buffs, but I don't have the attention span nor the lifespan to deal with that. I do plan to make follow-up videos about a couple of these guys, either now or further down the line, depending on when we get access to them as 7 stars. But for now, the moment I press play here, we are going to get into not my footage. So I opened 63 3-star crystals thanks to the Incursion store. I still don't have the 3-star version of Patriot, which is quite funny, given I have a 7-star rank 3, but I don't have the 3-star. But thanks to Ruckshat, my alliance mate, for being an enormous hero, taking up the 3-star version of Patriot, taking him into 5.1.6, and recording this footage. So what they've done for Patriot is they've increased his Fury potency, increased his vulnerability potency, allowed him access to his Steadfast against all classes, not just science. And basically what this allows for is this very fun rotation I saw from Allison Edits, where basically you just spam the SB1, you don't need to worry about the SB2, and thanks to the enormous damage, this damage doesn't really run out as long as you just repeat the SB1, but thanks to this enormous damage, you can just rinse and repeat SB1s, and as you can see, the damage output is perfectly respectable. You will see a lot more of this rotation in my 7-star video when that does come out, but you can see perfectly adequate damage output, and Jane Foster goes down. Now, the second fight in this quest comes to you from Sabretooth. Yes, that was a very nice transition. And Sabretooth, the reason I showcase him in this fight is because of the main piece of his buff, which is he starts Battlegrounds with 5 Furies. So I've already converted 5 Furies in the previous fight. This is Battlegrounds Sabretooth with a synergy team, but this is basically Battlegrounds Sabretooth. There are a couple other changes. He gains more regen, so the final hit of the SB2 will regen for 10% of missing health, and he will trigger his regen from the Awakened ability when struck through the block with a critical hit, which is quite nice. He also gains extra Fury potency and duration when he's converted his maximum for the fight. However, he does still have the same problem with his persistent charges. You could roll 6, you could roll less than 6, and that makes him inconsistent in a questing scenario. However, you will see with the leaderboard at the end, he is very, very powerful when you get the traction in a quest. Now, Night Thrasher. Now, I've given Night Thrasher, the Unstoppable Colossus in this quest, a bit of a stall, so I can issue a warning. Night Thrasher is on his knees for Sig 200. He is begging for Sig 200. He is drooling for Sig 200. Now, they have made his Awakened ability slightly more user-friendly. He no longer gains increased taunt potency, taunt ability accuracy rather, depending on the Sig. It's just a flat 35%. However, you still want signature level 200 for that Fury potency, right? That is what unlocks everything in his kit, and you're going to see plenty of insane things coming out of the 7-star version of Night Thrasher. I want to make it known very, very clearly that is not representative of what you will receive if you're just some schmuck who pulled the 7-star and Awakened, alright? You are going to want to put signature levels into this guy. Is he worth that investment? I don't know. Take a look at this damage output, judge for yourself, right? He obviously hits really, really hard. He hits really, really hard. This guy's Sig 99 as a 3-star, and that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. Is it game-breaking? No. Does he have an awful lot of utility? No. He has counter evade with his skateboard attacks. He's also immune to incinerate, which is nice. He has some purify abilities, which is pretty nice. But up next is Modok. More talk about the signature ability, right? So we all know that we're going to get the 7-star version of Modok in a selector. You can choose Patriot or Modok. However, the tricky bit about his new defensive kit, his auto block can trigger parry, is all on the Awakened ability. So of course we can't have nice things in this world, and basically a 6-star version of Modok that is Awakened is going to be a much scarier Battlegrounds and Alliance War Defender than an Unawakened 7-star, okay? As for his offensive kit, he's a defender, right? They haven't done much for that. But his counters, if you do want to know good counters just off the top of my head, Valkyrie, Misty Knight, Okoye is going to do pretty well. Spider-Punk, I think, is also going to do pretty well. And down goes Rocket Raccoon. Up next is Antivenom. Now, Antivenom was already a good champ. He's already a good champ. He just needed a little bit more, and maybe the addition of the 7-star rarity, just to properly push him into the limelight. He's not game-breaking in the Science class. The Science class is ridiculous, so he's not going to be breaking any speed records or anything. But you have a champion who is immune to Incinerate, who is immune to Poison. You have a champion with potent heal reversal, which is nice. You have quite a tanky champion with access to lots of debuffs. Very nice damage output if he crits with those Fury passives. And now he gains more Fury passives, which is nice, particularly when you couple that with the crit stat focus. And when that happens, you're more likely to crit on the SP2. And if you want an in-depth guide for all to do with Antivenom, look at Grass MCOC's video. Right, he knows Antivenom better than I ever will, I can't be asked. But my initial thoughts, having played him for a little bit, he's going to be useful. If you pull Antivenom as a 7-star, do not fear, right? You got lucky. There is much worse you could have pulled. You could have pulled Night Thrasher, right? Because that is about as useful as a hole in the head without Sig 200. Right, so that, I am using the Agent Venom synergy to get that nice burst of red damage there. However, that didn't crit. If it crit, Ghost Rider would have been basically dead after that SP2, which is huge. But down goes Ghost Rider, and talking of being dead, this is probably my favourite fight in the entire quest. Blink and you'll miss it, okay? Cull Obsidian. We all knew he was insane. He's been insane for 5 years now. But adding him as a 7-star, I'm just going to shut up. 1 heavy attack. Okay? Already hitting really hard. 2 heavy attacks. Alright? Stacking on the armor breaks. Enter route. Heavy attack. 1 combo. 1 SP1. Dead. 19 seconds. He is the new leader on my Matty MCOC 3-star 5.1.6 leaderboard. And it's not even close. If you thought Cyclops had a high damage output throughout this quest, you got another thing coming. Anyway, up next is Dr. Voodoo. Now, I will say, one thing for Dr. Voodoo is he has a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential in this kit. They've reworked his SP2, to essentially mean that if there are lots of buffs expiring on the opponent and you get access to MD, you can quickly throw off 2 SP2s, and that means that A, you can completely power lock the opponent at no bars of power. You can see here, I am stealing a bunch of power, or draining a bunch of power. I'm doing something to her power bar. I can't remember exactly what it is, and she now has nothing. But not only that, I could also deal extra bursts of damage for removing power, right? So that's very, very nice. Now, this has particular application in Battlegrounds to Serpent and Dark Phoenix. Now, that's very, very nice. In matchups where there aren't a lot of buffs going on, or, you know, they're not cosmic opponents, I still feel like I'm using someone who came out in 2016, so he's not the fastest champion in the world. However, it's nice to have a classic back. As a 7-star, I'm sure he's going to be very nice, and that utility from the SP2 is something we desperately need. Up next is Viv Vision. That's hard to say for no reason. Now, it's nice to have her as a 7-star. She isn't the most insane thing in the world. She never was. And I'm slightly worried, as with Yondu, who is going to take the boss in this quest, that she's kind of going to be cool, but not really used. The tech class is kind of held captive when it comes to how insane the mutant class decides to be on defense. So the mutant class is constantly evolving, right? That's kind of the point. They constantly get better defensively, and the tech class needs to rapidly move on in order to counter and deal with these things. Viv Vision really does not have the kit to deal with someone like Onslaught. You know, if you're a metal champion who tries phasing and your entire kit relies on that, you're not going anywhere. But she does deal plasmas, which is nice, against mutants, so I think she may have some application with Captain Britain, maybe, we'll see. But it's nice to have her as a 7-star. Should give her a little bit more reach outside of the super short matchups she was designed for. But up next, the final buff we're going over in today's video. 9th out of 9, last but not least, Yondu. Now, this is Kabam's second attempt at buffing Yondu. We had the first buff ages ago now, which resulted in the kit, roughly the kit that we have now. However, now he deals ruptures, which is nice. And I just see a general increase in damage output. He also has Invalidate instead of Pilfer now to do with prowesses. He obviously hasn't got the memo that the mutant class no longer relies on prowess at all. So, you know, you can update him or you can actually make him work, which is something. But, you know, my troubles with his utility certainly are balanced out by his damage output. He has a very nice damage output. There's a lot of potential for this champion to do a lot of things. Combine that with his weakness debuffs that he applies whenever the opponent throws a special attack. This guy is nigh on immortal, hits very, very hard. His Fury's a passive, which is nice. Still, very few champions in the game are immune to Rupture. And you can see, this Archangel, despite having like 70,000 health, a 3-star is cutting through it very, very nicely. There's potential for Yondu, even if I have some problems with his utility. And that is it. I have notes as well. And because I'm nice, I put them all on the leaderboard. Right, I put them all on the leaderboard, apart from Patriot, because I don't actually have Patriot, and I could not ask Ruckshat to go through the entire quest. But you can see here, Cyclops did that in 335 seconds, total fight time. Cull Obsidian was nearly 100 seconds faster. That is how mad Cull Obsidian is when he gets ramped up. And it's really easy to ramp him now, especially in Alliance War. I have a feeling we're going to see some stupid stuff. In an ideal world, I both pull and awaken the 7-star version of Cull Obsidian, and he will be my first Cosmic Rank 4. I want Cull Obsidian. He is going to be mad as a 7-star. Sabretooth, also as a ramp-up champion, does very, very well on this quest, 338 seconds. And then we have to go down quite a long way to find the other 7. Antivenom down there, 589 seconds. There was atrocious AI against both Cable and Archangel, so I have to put a little asterisk there. Viv Vision down there at 542 seconds. Okay. Ghost Rider's Incinerate immune, and he's not a mutant. Too bad. Then we have Night Thrasher. I just think he's going to be a little bit inconsistent unless you have him at Sig 200, which is going to be a little bit annoying. Then Modok, he's obviously a defender, and Dr. Voodoo, well, there aren't that many buffs running around on this quest. And that is 9 buffs, 2 mental breakdowns, and 1 video. Because, I'll tell you, recording this was a complete mess. It was awful. But that is just about all I have for you today. So if you have made it this far, then congratulations. You have an attention span greater than that of a goldfish. And go away.